We want to talk about quiz 1.03 and the most missed questions that we see from this quiz. So here they're asking us, what is the length of AE? So what's the length of AE? And you'll notice they give us some information. They say that AE is 2x plus 10. They also say that DE is x plus 3. But we need to see, obviously, kind of based on what we know that we've been working with so far, we are working with similar triangles here. But why are they similar and which parts are corresponding? First of all, we have vertical angles here at angle E, which means that those are congruent. In addition, we have parallel lines here in AB and CD, they're marked, that are cut by a transversal, which is going to be that big line here, CB. And so if you have these parallel lines, and you can just imagine that they extend on out, and just ignore DA for just a second. We're going to look at that in a minute. But look at BC. That's the transversal that's cutting these lines. The angle that's at C, so let's pretend like that goes on just so you can visualize this. The angle that's at C is actually congruent to the angle that's at B. Similarly, if we look at AD as a transversal of those parallel lines, the angle that's at D is congruent to the angle that's at A. These are alternate interior angles. So now we can look at these triangles as similar triangles, and we can see which parts are corresponding. CD corresponds to AB. So we know that those are in some proportion, a 4:10 ratio. Smaller to larger. We could set it up to larger to smaller if we want. However you set it up, you need to keep it consistent. I typically do small to large, just because it's easy to be consistent and to remember that. But you can do large to small if you want. Just do the same for the other triangle. So now I also know that DE corresponds to AE. Those need to be in the same ratio. So it needs to be, again, small to large because that's what I chose. If you chose large to small for the first one, then make sure you set up this second proportion as small to large, or large to small as well. So you would flip it. So you might have 10 over 4 equals 2x plus 10 over x plus 3. And that is totally fine. Just keep it consistent. Going to cross multiply here. We have 10 times x plus 3 equals 4 times 2x plus 10. Distribute on both sides. We end up with 10x plus 30. Oh, if my writing will stay. Doesn't want to stay for me. Let's try over here. There we go. 10x plus 30. We distribute it with the 10 equals, and we'll have 8x, distributing that 4, plus 40. Again, just distributing that 4 into the parentheses. Let's get all the x's on one side. So we subtract 8x, subtract 8x. We end up with 2x plus 30 equals 40. Subtract 30 on both sides. 2x equals 10. Therefore, x, when we divide both sides by 2, has to equal 5. But that's not the final answer, so please always be super careful on these. That's not what they asked us for. They asked us for the length of AE. So we know x equals 5. We just found that. So plug it in. AE is 2x plus 10. So 2 times 5 plus 10 is 20. Because it's 10 plus 10, which will give us 20. So AE is equal to 20 units. Now the next one here, we have two flags. And we know that these are similar because of angle-angle similarity. Notice the right angles are congruent because they're both right angles. And then they have the top angles marked congruent as well. We want to know the base length of the larger flag. So we set up proportions. Again, you can pick small to large or large to small, but keep it consistent with both proportions. I'm going to do small to large again. So 4 is to 5 as 5 is to x. We want to solve for that x, that base. So we'll set this up. 4 over 5 equals 5 over x. Simply going to cross multiply again. And we end up with 25 equals 4x. We divide both sides by 4. And we get x equals, so grab your calculator if you don't have it already. 6.25 should be your answer there. And it's in feet because the rest of them are in feet as well. And that's how they want your answer. That one was pretty straightforward and hopefully not too confusing. Again, just remember, keep it consistent. If you're doing small to large in this first proportion, do small to large in the second as well.